Hello everybody, I pray that you're well. This is our life group video for this week. We've taken a slight break from Genesis in this next couple of weeks, and this week we have Bruce McKenzie with us, and we went through Galatians 6 verses 1 to 5. But before we get into that, just a couple of things to be aware of. Firstly, the Last Ladies Connect is coming up. Please look out for details for that and make sure that you register. It's happening pretty soon, so please, ladies, we encourage you to register for that. The second one is look out for the date for our Impopomo outreaches, which have moved a couple of weeks earlier. Our Christmas outreaches to the early childhood development centers and also to the boys and girls for gender-based violence ministry stuff. That's happening in November. It's going to be prayer time around that as well, and packing of some items that we're going to be handing out to them, and being involved in ministry to the young children and the boys and girls. So please look out for that and see how you can get involved and participate in that. And then lastly, save the date for our carols evening on the 1st of December. And that's going to happen at 5 p.m. The carols will start. But before that, we've got an exciting couple of things happening. I want to do a bit of a Christmas market with a few options in there. Please look out for the details and we'll post more. But for now, please save the date. So if I could ask you this time maybe to get out your Bibles and then read Galatians 6 verses 1 to 5. And you can pause this video and do that now. Wonderful. Now that you've read that passage, I think what an amazing passage. We as a church have always been serious about the gospel and ensuring that we get it right, but it produces a culture and it produces something in us that desires us to live differently. And one of the things we've just read in this passage is how we respond based on the gospel to those who have been overtaken by sin in our midst. And what essentially this passage is telling us is that those who are tripped up in sin should be gently restored by fellow believers because they're part of the same family of God. And this is important to see. This is speaking about somebody who's been overtaken by, who's been deceived by, or been duped by sin, overtaken by. It's not something that they're intentionally going to look for and to do and are being rebellious for that, for the sake of it. But this is somebody who's been overtaken by and deceived by sin in our midst. This is family of God. How should we respond to them? Is to gently seek to restore them. And so this is not about sitting in judgment over people. This is not about showing people how bad they are, but this is in the family of God. It's a plea for compassion, for forbearance and patience and helpfulness in helping somebody, lifting them up and carrying them in this time so that they can be restored gently. And this is towards those who are spiritual, in other words, are led by the Spirit and are being filled by the Spirit and are walking in step with the Spirit and have enjoyed a maturity that comes with the Spirit of God. There's a spiritual maturity that should be, in other words, someone who's been transformed and changed by the gospel. They've received the Spirit. Now they respond to others in this way because this is how Christ has responded to us. And so as we look at this amazing passage, I think it's timely for us as a people, as we've seen the gospel being preached and there is a community of us that's being developed and more people are being added to it. What is the culture there? How will we respond to those who are overtaken by sin? Surely there needs to be a gospel approach. Surely there needs to be a Spirit-led and inspired way to be able to deal with this in community that impacts our relationships as we walk together in the Lord and seek to, for the good of one another and to fulfill the mission that Jesus has given to us. So here's a couple of questions to consider as we look at this passage. First question is this, and like we'd say is with any one of these questions, please listen to the full sermon. These are more application based, and so it's what do you do and respond to this sermon that you've heard. First question is, what is your posture towards those who are overtaken by sin in our church community? What is your posture towards those who are overtaken by sin in our church community? Now, is it self-righteous outlook and posture where you give someone a lecture, where you ignore them, where you seem to want to report them or shoot them down or cut them off? Or is it one of patient forbearance and helpfulness, seeking to restore that person gently humbly, sympathetically. I want us to think about this, because a person who's been impacted with the gospel knows how they have been treated by Jesus, how they've been forgiven, even when they didn't deserve it. And so is that the same posture that we have for someone in our community? It might be in your life group, might even be in your home. How does that play out? What is your posture towards those who are overtaken by sin in our church community? Secondly is this, is take a look at your own vulnerability. Honestly, take a look at it. Do you see that you can also fall into sin, and maybe perhaps the same sin that that you see someone has fallen into? And if you recognize and are honest that if you also are distracted and take your eyes off the Lord, you are also vulnerable to sin. How will this help you in restoring others who sin? So in other words, do you see that you can also fall into sin? And how will this help you in restoring others who sin? Surely if we have that and we take an honest look at ourselves and we can see how we too can be tempted, then surely we would have grace and patience for those who have been tempted and given into sin. And so our desire would be to treat them the way that we would like to be treated if we've been tripped up in sin in our own lives. The last question has got to deal with bearing with others' burdens, bearing their burdens, carrying this weight with them, and picturing in the back of our minds that Christ has carried our burdens of sin. And so this is about entering into some kind of accountable relationship or discipleship in the lives of others. This is not just confronting people that you do not know. This is not just, shouting and throwing truth bombs over a wall. No, this is actually entering into the lives of people and carrying their burdens together. And we want to consider this carefully. So here's the third question is, who are you walking in accountable relationships where you can bear their burdens and they can also do the same for you? Who are you walking in accountable relationships with where you can bear their burdens and they can do the same for you? That's mean walking with somebody, actively speaking about certain things, and they can speak into your life. They can help you carry your burdens. You can talk to them about this. And then if you don't have this, who will you seek to have this type of relationship with urgently? Because we are all prone to sin. And so consider these three questions. I believe it's critical for us, or three groupings of questions for us as a congregation in this time, as we seek to live out the gospel with one another, carrying each other's burdens, gently restoring those who are tripped over in sin, being honest about our own vulnerabilities to sin, and seeking help to walk in accountable relationships together. This is the Christ way. This is the gospel way. This is the Spirit-filled and Spirit-led way. Let us all walk in this way. God bless you, and this will make us be a community that is compelling to others that would want to come and see why we do this, and we can share the gospel. God bless you guys. May your conversations be meaningful, and may you respond in obedience and walk in these things. God bless you, and look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.